Hello, everyone. This is Brian Dawson, coming through live through the airwaves. I'm feeling really mellow tonight. I am in Florida. I'm leaving Tampa. I gotta drive to Atlanta, Georgia. I love, I love the scenery of Florida. The weather is nice. It's about 75 degrees. I'm here working right now, but I've also been here for pleasure, but right now I'm here on business. And so I wanted to do a live or recorded programming where I sit back and I talk about my travels. Um, One thing that I experienced as a traveler is I've experienced a lot of kindness from strangers and people along the way. I find that most humans are very kind and very helpful. I'm not naive. I know that there are bad people or people that wish to do harm to you or take advantage of you anywhere you may go, but most people, no matter where you go, are looking to make it home safe. Most people are not looking to get in a type of situation with you where is going to be a problem or someone is going to get hurt. Most people, just like you, are looking to make it home safely. No one wants to be a statistic, murdered, killed, or a victim of a crime. Um, so right now in the United States, a lot of people are experiencing a lot more mobility with the invention and the widespread use of the internet and social media. A lot more people are more interested in travel and online work, as well as exploring different cultures and experiencing new things. I think that this has always existed personally. If you study history, people have always traveled. People have always looked for new new people, new places, new things to buy, sell, trade, or for even for love or something as basic as the human need for affection. So people have always been into travel. That's not exactly new, but I just think in the modern times it's much easier to country hop, island hop, go to different places in the modern world. So we're going to see a lot more of that globalization, right? Well, I always give credit to a few people that got me interested in traveling. One would be Runoko Rashidi, rest in peace, uh, historian, geographer, Afrocentrist, and he was around in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, 2010s, 40 years traveling, showing people the outside world, places that most Americans, I should say, will never visit, especially Black Americans. I think that um Black Americans, meaning those people in America who are not immigrants, but ancestry can be traced back to the original origin of America, right? Those people that went through slavery in America is what I mean when I refer to Black Americans, not people from the Caribbean or people from Africa who have immigrated to America or maybe first or second or third generation Americans. They are Black, but they're not Black Americans. So I just wanted to clarify what I mean by this, but them two to a degree. But I think that their culture promotes more so travel because when you're coming from an underdeveloped country, the people who get education are better able to maneuver, and they either go to the UK or they come to the States. But when you're already in a so-called first world country or developed country, a lot of times a lot of people are trained to think that there's no reason for them to try to maneuver or go elsewhere. It's like, why would I leave, or why would I go someplace else? Because you know I'm here. I'm already in the first world country where everyone else is trying to go to. If you live in a major city like Houston, New Orleans, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, so many people immigrate to those cities. It's easy to think that you are the center of attention, right? So let's redirect the conversation to my original point. How are Black Americans treated international? I would say it depends where you go, but I would say that most places that I've been and most people that I interact with who have been to multiple countries and continents would say that Black Americans are treated very well. A lot of people through the American media and Hollywood see Black Americans on television. They listen to our music. Celebrities like Michael Jackson, Prince, Motown, people like Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Smokey Robinson, so on and so forth. Modern artists, like Beyonce, or even like a white rapper, but that's American, like Eminem, Tupac, Biggie, and so many more, to R&B celebrities like Usher, Chris Brown. You get what I'm saying? Rihanna, they really blew up in America. American music and American media is so prevalent in the world that when people meet us in person or overseas, they instantly have a liking to us. That's what I think. People generally treat us really well. I would like to talk about how the guys treat us overseas when we go over there, and how the women treat us when we go overseas. Okay, I'm gonna keep it a buck. It could go two ways. Okay. One way, they both parties might look at you as a lick. What is a lick? A lick is a slang or American terminology meaning that you are a target to be taken advantage of, usually financially. So it's easy when you go overseas for people to look at you as a lick, and I've experienced this in the English speaking Caribbean countries where you go down there, they think all Americans are balling out. They want to get you for something that usually costs just $1 or $2. They'll try to get you for $10 or $15. And if they could get you for thousands of dollars, they'll get that too. So while Black Americans may want to experience African culture or Caribbean culture or Latin American culture or go to Asia, you have to remember that you can be perceived as a lick, a target. Okay. Um. So always protect yourself and always move with intention. And now, how I go about maneuvering through those type of things is, one, I do research. Two, I never accept the first price that someone gives me on something. If you can do that, that'll save you a lot of money. Like, if let's say they say $40, $40, just say nah. Say I got 20, something like that. And usually they'll be like, all right, they're not gonna let that sale go by, because any money to them, American money is better than no money. So the guys will look at you as a lick, but then you got some guys out there that they'll look at it more like a business partnership. Like, okay, look, I'll show you around. I could introduce you to the ladies. I be the middleman, so to speak, if you just look out for me. And then the females, I find that the females, they are generally, it could go two ways with them too. They could look at you as a lick, and a lick is very easy to find because a lick is going to be, they're going to be willing to part ways with their money. You know, they're going to be too willing to give up their money, not 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 having any kind of common sense. I won't even say street smart, so I'm gonna just say common sense, you know. But people are the same pretty much. They're different culturally, but people are people everywhere you go. You got everyday working people overseas. You got street people overseas. You got government people overseas. You got law enforcement overseas. And I think a lot of Americans, since the makeup of it is a little bit different, a lot of Americans think that because they're no longer on the American shores, that it's a free for all. And some of the things that's in American culture could really make people a target or a lick. Like for example, American uh mainstream media culture promotes taking out a bunch of money, you know, we call it flossing or showing off, showboating, a bunch of 20s, 10s, hundreds. Now, if you go to a developing country and you're showing off, let's say 1,000 or two or 10 or $15,000 in cash, trying to impress the girls, you congratulations, you just elected yourself to become a target. You're going to be targeted because if you go to the Dominican Republic or as they call it, Republica Dominica, or you go to Cuba, or you go to Africa, which is a continent, and go to some of these countries like Nigeria, where, you know, in some of these countries, people are making considerably less than in the United States. So if you go over there, male or female, trying to bring the mainstream media's version of ghetto culture to these places, you're going to elect yourself to be victimized. So what I do when I go over there, I try not to dress flashy. I don't wear any. I probably rock a G-Shock. Sometimes I rock a little like a diamond watch, but nothing too nothing too flossy. You know what I mean? I might buy jewelry while I'm over there to bring back to the States. But I don't. I try not to look too. That's not saying you can't dress nice or look nice, but you don't want to overdo it. You know, you don't want to elect yourself to be victimized. Another thing is your important documents, your passport, your wallet, your information. You don't want to walk around the streets with all of this stuff on you. You want to, you know, keep all of your important documents in a safe somewhere in your hotel room or your Airbnb. You don't want, and they even have portable safes that you could bring with you if you don't want to trust the safe inside the country. So you want to bring your own your own stuff there. So when you go there, you will be safe. You know, that's the main thing. When you're traveling, you want to be safe. You want to practice safety. So I've seen situations where I have witnessed situations where Americans, where I read the news, have been murdered, kidnapped, women have been abducted in certain countries, and some people gotta ask, well, are they why are they targeting Americans? But you gotta think about how Americans act. First of all, a lot of Americans like to be heard, seen, and acknowledged, and this is across racial lines. Americans, um, Americans, you generally have problems getting along with others. Now, imagine going overseas with that same mentality. So a lot of Americans don't travel internationally, believe it or not. A lot of Americans don't travel. We're gonna get to black Americans in a second, but a lot of Americans in general don't travel. I read a report that says most Americans live within an hour or two of their hometown where they grew up. Now, this is because America is very segregated and it's a lot of discrimination in America historically. So people tend to stay in certain areas where they know it's safe, certain regions, I would say. It's nothing wrong with that, but it's just how it is. Now, out of the 350 million people in America, it is estimated that about 2 million Americans, maybe three by now, have passports. So a very small percentage of Americans have passports. And then out of that percentage, even less than that choose to live overseas. So who are the Americans who more than likely lived overseas? I would say people that was in the military first and foremost. People that are in the military are the most well-traveled people, generally speaking, that you meet. Then the second class of people would be people who travel for business and or for pleasure. And then another class over that is if someone is already from their parents is from or grandparents are from a foreign country. And just now, I think in this day and age, we have Black Americans that are popularizing, moving overseas, living overseas for work. Primarily, I would say people. I would say people that's from the ages of 35 to 50 are the people that's popularizing this. Now, it is some younger people that's doing it, but most younger people in the United States don't have the means to travel overseas, or if they do have the means, they're not they're thinking, oh, I'm not going to go over there. Somebody's going to do me something. Okay, the women overseas. How are the women overseas? It depends. Now, I'm going to stick to the Caribbean and Latin America because those are the two regions that I frequent. Those are the places that I know about. I have not been to Asia yet, and I have not been to Europe or Africa yet. And that's on the to-do list in the next 3 to 5 years, whenever I finish what my current mission is, which is paying off my student loans in the next 2.5 years, and another 2 years of just continuous investing like I'm doing now. So I got a 5-year plan to invest, save, get completely out of debt. And so by the time I'm completely out of debt, I should have around $180,000 of equity where I could travel the world and do what I need to do. You know what I mean? So I sacrifice that for now. And then I could just visit overseas in the short term. Well, how do the women treat us overseas? Yo, I would say women in the Caribbean and Latin America varies. You have lower class women, females that's not dimes, not attractive, no game. Then you got cool females that are average looking, but could be rough around the edges. Then you have attractive women with game. Those are the dimes or the B pluses, A plus and B plus. Now, depending on what area you're in, it could be hit or miss. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? But generally speaking, who you attract is generally a reflection of how you see yourself, right? So if you attract lower class females, then either your game is not right or you're fishing in the wrong pond. So I have been treated phenomenally uh in in the places that I've been. I received a lot of love there. But I would say this too. It depends on if you're building relationships or you're just there for the moment. Now, I will also say this, if you're going to a country where they speak a foreign language or are you going to practice the language to be able to communicate? And I think that's the one barrier that a lot of Black American men and women are going to face in some of these countries, is that you have to be willing to learn the language. I don't think that a person can have a genuine vibe. They can, but it's going to be difficult with um a whole new culture if you're not even going to learn the language, you know. I mean, there's all kind of courses out there that can help you with Spanish. I think Spanish is definitely a language that needs to know, but even if you're going to like a French Creole country, you'll want to know the language there too, or how to say certain things. So, and then another thing, long term staying in a place is money, finances. Your finances have going to stay in a place for 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months to a year, or long term, you're going to have to get your finances up. There's no way around that. So I think security, food, shelter, water, security, and love, right? Those are the hierarchy of needs. And so if a person is able to bring that with them wherever they go, internationally or nationally in their homeland, the chances of finding, if you have food, shelter, water, clothing, and also safety, then it's going to be easier to attract love. You know, it's going to be easier to get a woman to bring a woman into the fold who could appreciate that, right? But if you don't have those things, then it's going to be more difficult in order to bring and keep uh, a woman in the fold. And the same in the States. I just think that's the problem in the States, is that things are so expensive in the States that a man would have to spend a majority of his time working. And it'll be very difficult to have a relationship in the United States if she's working 40 to 60 hours and he's working 40 to 80 hours or 60 to 80 hours just to make ends meet. And then we got to factor in, and that's per week, we got to factor in sleeping, just being able to rest. So the average person that have about 70 hours with 3 days, and to be able to spend with their loved ones. And this is the problem in the United States. And this is why I think that a lot of the women are frustrated. They went to college, they have a bunch of student loans, and they're in debt. It's harder for them to find the guy that they would like to be with because they're always working, and things are increasingly unfair. The same with the guys, but the problems manifest a little bit differently for both genders. The guys' problem is that they have a delayed growth spurt, I think, in the United States, because a guy is not going to start really finding his zone financially until late 20s, early 30s. And a woman's dilemma is the fact that by the time the men are reaching their financial peak, maybe like 34, 35, she may have aged out of the cut. And then the guys that's her age, that's 34 and 35, they're going to be looking for younger women. And then the women that are still fly at those ages and good financially, she might come off to a certain degree as uh I don't want to go there, but you get what I'm saying. Like, she might come off as already, like, the guy might look at it and say, where do I fit into her life? Like most guys, they want a woman who compliments them. So if the woman is already doing whatever, doing her thing, like I'm not like, I have nieces, and I love women. I'm not against a woman being doing her thing and being successful, right? I'm not against that at all. Do your thing. But at the same time, a man wants to lead. So if he comes across a woman who's fly, but she's so independent and doing her own thing and have been doing her own thing for 10 years, instead of, they probably could be friends. He probably could have qualities that he really likes in her, but it's going to be difficult for him to probably break the ice or build the kingdom he wants to build with her, because she's already been building her own kingdom and he doesn't want to interact. He doesn't want to mess that up. And at the same time, he doesn't want to get into a situation where he's he's saying he's bringing he's a liability. He doesn't want to be a liability to her. Every man wants to be an asset to his family. And every woman should want to be an asset. But here's the catch. Here's the catch 22. It's a lot of females that are liabilities, and it's a lot of women that are successful, that are assets, that have assets. But the financial part of the game is not always the thing that catches a guy eyes first. A guy first is attracted with his eyes, and then is this woman, would this woman be a good mother? Would this woman be a good a good nurturer? And sometimes I think when women are providing so much, it it takes them out of the motherly nurturer vibe, because it's placing them in a situation where they have to work and they have to do certain things in order to make it. But I still think that an intelligent, beautiful, black woman is fly. Like I still like, I still think that's fly, right? And the mind that it takes to survive out here. And any woman that's out here working, providing, and they're doing it so they don't have to sell their bodies or be degraded. How can I hate on her? I can't hate on her. She like you feel what I'm saying? So I think that it's a lot though, because at the end of the day, a man is going to, I think, if is it going to work between a black man and a black woman in America, they would have to team up and start a business together, or he would have to have a business. They would have to have a business where they're working together, because I don't think ultimately any guy wants a boss or a corporation to have so much control over his woman. I think that'll be problematic. I don't think that that'll work. I don't think that that'll work, because when the manager starts trying to holler and all this other stuff, and the guys on the job or co-workers, that's just bringing unnecessary drama to the equation. And like I say, do you want to be an asset or a liability? Now, the women internationally, like, it's a lot of talk about women overseas. Okay, are they really this fly? Is it all smoke and mirrors? And like I said, it depends. They have levels to the game. It all depends on your level of security. And I think for guys got to realize is no way around that. A woman in China is going to want a man who is secure. A woman in Brazil is going to want a man who's secure. A woman on the moon will want a spaceman who's secure. And securities, meaning finances, structure, is is the movement of the world. But I think what makes it a little bit easier is that if you get out of the United States, it's easier to afford a home. Now you can actually enjoy your crib. Now you can actually enjoy your girl. It's easier to sit down and we can have a meal together and talk. It's harder to have that in the United States, i- because they're always chasing a check. I mean, think about this in the United States for all my Americans. When the last time have you sat down with the person you're dating and ate a meal together? Or how many times in 2023, what was the best meal you shared with your spouse, if you have one? When was the last time you were able to go on a date with your spouse and just enjoy the date with them and enjoy just being in their presence because you missed them? I think that this is what's under attack. That love is under attack. Relationships are under attack in the United States because it's difficult for guys and girls to be able to do these things, right? Things that I think our previous generations took for granted. I think is at a place in the United States where is increasingly difficult to be able to even date. I would say in the United States to date, a person would probably need to have about because dating is an investment, right? To get to know someone, to miss making money, or take some time off. I think that a guy would have to be a little bit more stable. Like maybe if he worked and invested all through his 20s, by 30s, his early 30s, he'll be able to date how he wants to. But I think a guy would probably need about 40, 50, 60 or more. At least I would say at minimum, he would have to have a bank of at least $30,000. And that's not a lot of money to be honest. I mean, let's say, he spent 3 years saving 10, 10, 10, he got 30. At that point, on his fourth year, he working on 40 or 50. At that point, he could take some time off a little bit to just like, all right, I'm gonna go on some dates. Because you gotta think, this guy might have to give up making money, which he needs for his survival, to bring a mate into the picture who this person potentially may not even be the right choice. But here's the thing, a guy has to do things outside of work in order to feel whole. You can't just give everything to a job or to a career or even to your own business because at the end of the day, what's the point of having it all with no one to share it with? Because, like I say, we're working to get food, shelter, clothing, water, security, but you also still need affection. Men need affection, women need affection. I mean need. I mean NEED, right? It's a necessity. Affection is a necessity. And I think that American culture is leaning towards as long as you have these other things, food, shelter, clothing, water, security, you don't need affection. But we're working to have those things so that we can have affection. So, um, I don't think that the women in America are particularly bad. I think that it's a lot of propaganda that they fall victim to in the United States because the United States want them to join the workforce and be slaves in the work culture. Uh, and that it's more important to have a career than it is to be a mother. It's more important to have a career than to be a wife. I think that that's what I get from the propaganda that I've seen. And everything is propaganda. All media is propaganda, whether it's constructive or destructive. All media is propaganda. So it depends on what side of the game you look at it as, right? Now, the women that I've had the pleasure of being with, the fly women. Oh man, I met some fly ones. I can't lie. Short term and reoccurring. My current lady is super fly. She's so fly, she don't even know how fly she is. A sweetheart, attractive. She has a smile that like when she's laughing or smiling, like it's a beautiful sight to see her happy. And also she's spicy, picante, like she got some spice to her. Azúcar picante. You know what I'm saying? Like sugar and spice. Like she got her sweet side and she got a spicy side. And I have to balance her out and let her know like, hey baby, relax. Like everything is gonna be okay. But at the same time, she works really hard to please me and I like that a lot. Like her dedication to seeing me pleased and seeing me happy is really fly. Um, she cooks for me. She I had to get a tooth pulled last time I was with her in Cuba, and she took care of my dentist thing, my dentist appointment. She fixed me some soup when I was done, gave me my medicines. I went to sleep, I chilled. And to be honest, that tooth was really bothering me. And I really needed to get that tooth out of my mouth or it was going to become infected. And she took care of me last Father's Day. I was with her and she made me feel incredibly special. Um a lot of food. She took care of me. She wanted she wanted so much to make me feel appreciated on such a level to where I can honestly say I have never had a better Father's Day. And it let me know that how much she appreciated me. Um, Her transparency, I would say that that's a big difference. Like in the United States, we're taught to a degree that you should not be vulnerable or be real. Everybody say be real, be real, be real, but let's keep it a buck. Men and women in the United States do not value vulnerability. Now, that's one thing if you're dealing with someone that you don't care about. But if this is a life partner or someone that you want to spend your time with in the future, you're going to have to be vulnerable. They're going to have to see the ugly sides of you. You're going to have to see the unpleasant sides of this other person. And you're going to have to decide if you're willing to stick it out with this person, right? That's why I like kids. Kids are honest. Kids will tell you what they like, what they dislike. They won't lie, and they'll be vulnerable. And we love kids for that. But as adults, we shame adults for being vulnerable. We make fun of them, and I get it. It's a time and place for everything. But I'm talking about when you're specifically with your partner, with your person, with your other half. You have to have that level of trust where you guys could be vulnerable. Um, I would say uh they're a lot more essential, I find. I guess when money is not the most important thing, you could spend time nurturing the other. You're gonna make sure that those other things are taken care of. And so she spends a lot of time nurturing, really affectionate, really fly. Um uh Food is a real big part of the culture, honestly, especially in Latin America. And I just think in the United States, if the guy is spending a lot of time working, it's going to be very difficult for him to have a woman who, and if she's spending a lot of time working too, I want to be fair, I want to be balanced in what I'm saying. It's going to, you know how hard like I say, 60 to 80 hours, and then you still gotta sleep. And then you thinking like, damn, I'm gonna have to come home and I'm gonna have to cook and clean and I'm gonna have to get freaky with this dude too. And see, it becomes a job. It becomes a chore. And this is what I think is the problem in the United States is that love becomes a job and it becomes a chore instead of it being it's parts of it that's always going to be a job, right? But is it worth it? And I just think in the United States, people are so involved in their careers that they realize that when you die, your career is not showing up to your job. The person that spent their life with you and your family is the ones that's going to show up to your funeral. The people you touched. Your coworkers that you might work with for 20 years, they might show up, but the company, the brand, so they're gonna move on. They're gonna hire someone else. They don't care. Um, on another note, I have seen some, and I have known some really beautiful American black women for sure. And I done had some good experiences with black women in America. And I think that that's why I'm blessed, because had I not had positive experience with black women in America, I wouldn't have the balance to be able to understand both sides of the game and say, okay, well, to separate the fact that, okay, this was a bad experience, but that doesn't make all black women bad. I think that on both sides of the fence, this happens. Like, some women have had great relationships with black men, and some women have not. And so we need the balance. We need balance. Some guys have had great relationships with black women in America, black American women. Some guys have not. So if one guy has had positive experiences and another guy has not, they're speaking two different languages when they're talking about the same thing, because the other guy can't relate, or the other woman can't relate. If one woman say I love black men and another woman say I hate black men, they're speaking different languages. If one guy says, man, I love black women, another guy say, man, I don't want that. I'm straight. They too combative. Well, they both may have points, but you gotta ask them why. Like, what happened? Give me the full details. Give me some context, because it's a story behind both of those statements. So I'm glad that I've had positive experiences, and I do think black women are really fly, really beautiful. I seen one today out here in Florida. I said, man, pressure. I said, man, this thing right here, man, is pressure. And I don't mean thing like calling her a thing. I'm just saying, like, excuse me, this woman is very attractive. Okay. Um, this person is attractive. So you see eye candy, you see flyness. But I think, once again, American culture is built on work. I seen her because I was working, and my job enables me to travel her as a driver, as a CDL driver, as a truck driver. So I'm able to see women in Los Angeles, see women in Utah, see people in Houston or Florida or the East Coast. And I'm able to, when I'm off, I'm able to chop it up with people, and I go to the gym too. So, like, I was in the gym in Reno. They had like Asian and Hispanic women inside there. Now, I'm saying this like this because America is very segregated. And if you don't understand that America is segregated, it can really confuse you as an outsider looking in, because it's so, if you're Asian or Hispanic, you may not live around a lot of blacks. And if you're black, you may never live around Asians and Hispanics and or Hispanics. So I'm in the gym. Yo, if you want to know what the baddest women are, and I read this in one of Tariq Nasheed's dating books, but I have to agree with what he said. He said the gym, business conventions, health food stores like Whole Foods and places like that. Um, and doing constructive things basically. But those primarily, yo, it's never been a time I went to a Whole Foods market, a gym, or a business meeting convention where I haven't met fly ass women. What? I mean, local, like crazy. I'm like, and you meet, mhm. I gotta just take a sip of my coffee on that one. And I'll say vice versa too for women. I say for women, if they want to meet fly guys, They gotta hang out where the money is, and the gym is a good way to meet guys too. But I think for guys that's really out here on a purpose, they're going to be hard to catch up with because you might not get to meet them. So I think for a woman, she would have to strategically plan, and she'll have to mark out the guy that she wants, and she'll have to go make that her territory because she would have to make herself available and present herself in a way to where the guy could notice her. God might just be so busy. He might only be in your city for the weekend. He might only be in your town for the night. And this might be the guy of your dreams. It's crazy like that, ain't it? Um, and I think for a lot of guys got to put their careers. I think it's backwards. I think guys should put their careers before dating, but I think guys put dating before their careers, and I think women should put dating before their careers. I mean, I think women should. Okay, women put their careers before dating, and maybe they should be the opposite. I think more women should prioritize dating over careers. And I think guys should prioritize careers over dating because the way that we're set up, w- no matter how much money that a woman makes, she's still going to want a financially secure guy. So this is where her money doesn't make sense, like Kevin Samuels used to point out. Now, me, I don't mind having a financially secure woman. Like that doesn't intimidate me. I want you to be intelligent. Preferably, I want you to be highly educated because I think that I'm a smart, intelligent guy. I like learning new things. If we have kids, I want our kids to be intelligent. I will want you to go to the gym and be healthy because I will want you to live a long life so I can enjoy you more. And also, I would like for you to have a high moral standard. Now, that doesn't mean I want you to be perfect. That doesn't mean that I want you to make mistakes. But if I'm gonna leave you, if I die before you and you're going to have access to my estate and to my inheritance from my kids, I need you to protect that. I don't want you to go and giving that away. I think God's think if God, when the more education a God thinks, or the more education a God gets too, he gotta think like, damn, if I marry this woman and I spend 50, 60 years working, busting my butt off, and I die before her, or let's say I die prematurely, I die in my 40s, or well, if you die prematurely, I can understand why she may remarry, right? Because you're both still young. But that's the risk that you take. It's like, man, what if my estate ends up in the hands of another man who didn't work for what I created? That's a tough one, ain't it? Dating is tough. I think dating is tough. And I think that here, one of the things that make dating tough is that, or is a person dating for aesthetics or they're dating for practicality? Ask the questions like, am I dating male or female? Am I dating this person because they look nice? Or am I dating this woman because she adds value to my life? Or am I dating this man because he adds value to my life? And then a person got to ask themselves, like, am I an asset to this person or am I a liability? But I can't lie. I have met a lot of beautiful women overseas. I think because most countries internationally have less people than the United States is more, and then we value what's rare, right? So we're not used to seeing black women or morenas or mulattas speaking Spanish for in a black American. Like we see the the we see people from like Mexico and we see people, those those types, more like the Amerindian types, but you don't really see like the black one. So when you see a black woman speaking Spanish, yo, for me that's a turn on. I can't lie about that one. And I would say that men have to explore the world. I think that that's a gift and a curse, right? We have the responsibility of exploring the world and seeing what's out there. Because if we don't explore the world to see what's out there, then we won't know what's out there. That we can't get what we want by simply just staying in the house. I read that in a book by Shahrazad Ali. That no man is known for staying in a hut, a house, an apartment, and letting the world come to him. Men are explorers. Men have to explore. And I think that breaks a lot of women's hearts when they realize, like, damn, I got him, but for how long? Because he may leave me. If he upgrade his game, is he going to stay with me? Right? If he goes from making 40,000 to 400,000, or 400,000 to 4 million, or 4 million to 14 million in United States dollars or UK, or one of the currencies that's worth the most, if his social status improves, is what I'm trying to say, am I still his choice? And I think it all depends on what type of asset were you in this guy's life. Did you make yourself an asset, or did you make yourself a liability? And I think most guys think, for the most part, for his women, I think women are more disloyal in that regard, because if a man's role is to provide, and a woman's job is to multiply what he provides, if he if he is replaced monetarily, even though he is an asset to her, if he's replaced monetarily, and then she starts making, um went from 40,000 to 400,000, or 400,000 to 4 million, I think the female, regardless of race, would be more willing to part ways with the guy, versus the guy would be more willing to part ways with the woman, just because he's making more money, depending on the nature of the relationship, because the guy is not necessarily dependent on the woman to provide anything financially from the jump. But the woman is looking for the man to provide financially, and that's just how nature made us. So if a system or something is put in place where she's already taken care of financially, that immediately, to some degree, decreases through optics what she thinks he provides. But here's the key: the man provides more than just money. He provides protection, balance, intelligence, direction. Spiritually, on the spiritual level, if he's in his nature, he provides balance to her. Imagine having all of the money in the world without any balance, and vice versa. The right woman provides balance to the man. What's the point of having $4 million if I'm off balance? Right? Balance. We need balance. So I initially did this recording to talk about uh the differences and stuff like that. But I think it all comes down to the economy and things of that nature. But I know a lot of women internationally too, and I like to say this, that they don't believe in relationships or love either, because the men over there could be really, hardcore or harsh. Men over there, like there's countries and videos of men beating women. Uh, Men could these patriarchal societies, men get away with a lot of cruelty to women when things are extreme. Men get away with a lot of cruelty to women. I think in the United States is the best bet that women have to exert freedom, but I think it comes at a healthy price when it's pushed to an extreme because, especially in the modern age, women are sacrificed being a wife, being a mother, having a home, having a family for a career, just to say that you're free. I think that that's a trap. I don't have a daughter, but if I had a daughter, I would want her to be balanced. I wouldn't look at my daughter and say you have to be wealthy or rich. And you feel what I'm saying? I will want her to be secure and safe, but I'm not looking at my daughter to be like, oh, you have to become the wealthiest woman. And even if for my son, I love my son without him ever having to get a job or this and that, but I want him to be competent. But even if he doesn't need to make $50 million or $100 million for me to love him or for me to think that he's worthy of a spouse to love him. You dig? So that's my message for the night. God bless and peace.